When the early morning owls have come and gone, think the promise of tomorrow never comes. So hang on tight to those you love, and maybe soon from up above you'll be blessed, so keep on looking high. For you're underneath the lovely London sky. Lovely London sky. Hello, my dear chums and my dear kin. As many of you know, I kept weekly vlogs during my time in Spain. 'Twas a lovely time, but now 'tis past. Before I end the epic series, though, I have to include I spent a week in London. And I am not gonna try to do this entire vlog in an English accent because I want to be able to talk about it. Ever since I was little, England has been like my dream. I've always wanted to go there because it seems like everything cool that I was familiar with came from there. Stuff like Mary Poppins, Harry Potter, Peter Pan, Winnie the Pooh, the Beatles, everything cool came from England. So let's take a journey together through England. So on Sunday, I went to the airport in Madrid. The guy at the airport was super nice. I had to extract like 5 kilos from my suitcase in order for it to fly. I was only able to extract 3, but he let it slide anyways. Ryanair, man, despite being the frontier airlines of Europe, they were surprisingly nice. The seat was so comfortable I fell asleep and didn't wake up until the plane landed, jolting me awake. Everything was going so well that of course I left my Mac on the plane. Now I know earthly possessions can hold you back, but this computer that I film all these videos on is really important to me. It has a lot of memories and projects and things on it. It went straight to the lost and found, but I wasn't able to get to it until like 3 days later. Without the Mac, I was able to detox from technology. As I left the airport, I realized I was rehearsing in my head what I was gonna tell the taxi driver in Spanish. Then I realized I'm in England, he's gonna be speaking English. They don't call it a taxi, they call it a cab. So as soon as I landed in the London, England airport, I started geeking out hardcore because everybody, I mean everybody, had an English accent. It was literally just the coolest thing ever, just hearing people talk with the accent. I got on the bus because the airport's not in the middle of London, it's off to the side, and they call these big old buses coaches. Wearing a seatbelt was a legal requirement over there, which is weird because here in America, it's not a legal requirement to wear a seatbelt on a bus. As the bus pulled out of the airport and onto the highway, I realized something that I had forgotten. They drive on the opposite side of the road. I was like, don't do it, man, you're going into the wrong... Oh, they drive on the opposite side. We were driving past the English countryside, and it's so humid and chilly there. It was Sunday, so getting to church was my first priority. Luckily, I'd had a super early morning flight and gotten there around like 9 a.m., so I was able to get to church by 12, which just so happened to be when the YSA ward started. Miracles, am I right? I got to church in my kind of comfortable, smelly airport clothes, and I was able to go to the bathroom and change quickly. After church, I walked outside and made it to Hyde Park. I had to walk through Hyde Park to get to the hostel I was staying at, so I took my time. You know, I had a gigantic suitcase I was pulling along with me. I had lunch in Hyde Park, left over from some sandwiches that I'd made myself back in Madrid, and I checked into the hostel. I didn't realize exactly what a hostel meant until I got there. There are 10 beds in one room. The guy at the hostel had an accent. He was like, yes, welcome to the Phoenix Hostel. I'll take your bags. Just kidding, he didn't take my bags. I just couldn't think of what else he said. So I hauled my gigantic blue suitcase up the stairs and left it there and just settled in for the night. On Monday, I got up and I was ready to go. The first place I went to was King's Cross. And when I was in King's Cross, I was walking through saying, wow, this place is so big, this is so famous, and then I realized, wait, King's Cross, isn't that where platform 9 3/4 is? It is! And so I got to go to platform 9 3/4. Harry Potter was part of my childhood. The magic and the wonder, and I read all 7 books when I was a kid. So going there in real life and seeing it was just awesome. Now my Hogwarts house is technically Slytherin because I'm a strong, cunning leader, but I kind of identify as a Slytherpuff because I feel like if I actually went to Hogwarts, I'd be in Slytherin, but I would hang out with Hufflepuffs. I know in the picture I'm sporting a Hufflepuff scarf with a Ravenclaw sweater, and right now I got Gryffindor colors. I don't know, maybe I'm just the avatar of Hogwarts. So then I tried to get to Big Ben. Now when I very first got to England, the whole underground buses, trains thing was very confusing. Here's how it went down. Excuse me, how do I get to Big Ben? Which station, love? Big Ben? Oh, this is the overground. You want the underground? Just go back the way you came, down the stairs on the left, walk across the escalator on the right, ride it down, and follow the signs to the Circle and District lines. Now that'll take you to Westminster Station. Isn't that right, Ben? Wait, the Circle train or the District train? Just follow the signs, love, it's all the same.
Oh, come off it, lad, you're confusing the poor girl. Listen, don't listen to Jamie, just take the bus.
Oh, okay. Is it just outside, or...?
Yeah, just straight out those doors, turn left, down a ways, cross the street, go right and look at the escalation bridge. You find that bus stop T, mind you, get on the Bishop's Gate, that's bus 11. Take you right to Parliament Square and walk a block and a half towards the river and you can't miss it.
Are you daft, man? There's no way she's gonna remember all that. Not to mention she hasn't got a clue what you're saying.
Yeah?
Wait. So I got on a train, and I was headed to Big Ben when the station said, "Now we're stopping at the station with Buckingham Palace." And I was like, ooh, I wanted to see that. So I just hopped off and I walked towards Buckingham Palace, and there was a huge crowd of people there. Turns out it was the changing of the guard, which only happens on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. So literally, if I had missed it, I would have missed it. Talk about miracles, am I right? So I went to the changing of the guard. It was very crowded, but I did get to see just through the crowds of people and the gates and everything. It was pretty amazing. And they played Skyfall, which I totally recognized. And as I was looking across the street at the crowds of people, I saw a girl get up on another girl's shoulders to like see better, and I recognized her from church. She had given a talk the previous day, and I was like, that's that girl, Beth. And so I ran across the street and I found her in the crowd, and I was like, Beth, hey, you don't know me, but I was at church yesterday. You gave a great talk. And she was like, oh, lovely to meet you. And I was like, listen, what you doing later today? I was trying to hint that I wanted to hang out with her because I was all by myself, and let me tell you, traveling by yourself is not as fun as traveling with a whole bunch of other people. Not that I let that dampen the experience at all. Just saying, it's more fun with more people. Beth was actually traveling with the Mills, Sister Mills, and her parents, a missionary who had just gotten off her mission, and they took me to Westminster Abbey with them. So when I heard Westminster Abbey, I was thinking, oh, another cathedral. I've seen a lot of cathedrals. But this isn't just any cathedral. This is the cathedral where kings and queens were married and crowned for hundreds of years in England. There was also the graves of people I knew from history, like Charles Darwin, Isaac Newton, Stephen Hawking. I didn't dance on their graves, but I have walked on their graves now. As I walked over Isaac Newton's grave, I could really feel the gravity of the moment. So there have been 16 royal weddings there, including that of Queen Elizabeth and Princess Diana. There were some very ornate baby-sized coffins in there. And they prayed over the loudspeaker, which I thought was cool. They didn't do that in any of the other cathedrals I've ever visited. Also a first time for me, we went to the second floor, and there was like kingly capes and crowns and all sorts of cool stuff up there. It was so sad because you weren't allowed to take pictures. And I learned something. A circular cape is called a cope. I learned that because I saw a semicircular trunk, and I said, what's that for? And they said, that's for a cope. And I said, what's a cope? And they said, a cope is for the Pope. And I was like, stop. But no, they were for real. So if you have a cape that looks like a semicircle when you lay it out flat on the ground, that's not a cape, it's a cope. So I asked Beth, and she explained to me the difference between Britain and England. Britain is Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and England. And then England is just England. That was news to me, I didn't know that. I saw the London Eye, which is just a big Ferris wheel. The Mills and Beth and I all went to dinner together to McDonald's, which it's just the same as here in the States. Beth and I both got a wrap, and mine was fine. Hers was really spicy, and she got halfway through it, and I shouldn't laugh because I felt kind of bad, but the way that she said it was so funny. She was like, oh, it's so hot, I can't bear it, I can't eat it. I was like, I'm sorry, but her accent and everything, so I switched wraps with her, and it was very spicy, but I was able to eat it. The next day, which was Tuesday, I was still in a go, go, go kind of mode. I went and sought out all the iconic things that come from England. I saw Baker Street with Sherlock Holmes. I found the TARDIS. I went and had lunch in a park, and a little squirrel came up to me, and we like kind of made friends. I gave him part of my kiwi. I went to the city hall just to see it, and when I had to go through security, the guy said, here's your brolly. They call an umbrella a brolly over there. Now the umbrella I got from my roommate Anu, who left it when she went back to Hawaii. And it's clear. Pretty much the most genius way to have an umbrella is a clear umbrella. As I was walking around with my clear umbrella because there was some legit England rain going on. Oh, I geeked out over the rain, you have no idea. It was so cool. Anyways, as I was walking around with my clear umbrella, I realized I'm being protected from the rain, but I can still see everything. My vision isn't blocked at all. It kind of made me think about how people who don't understand or who are judgmental, think that people in my faith are like sheltered and they're naive and they're brainwashed. I've gotten people tell me I'm brainwashed before. I just smile and say, you know what? You don't understand, and that's okay. I feel like my faith in Jesus Christ and my belief system is not like a horse's thing that they put on their eyes. What do you call that? But it's like a clear umbrella, because while sheltering me from the harmful effects of rain and bad weather, I'm also able to see everything, and my vision's not hindered because of it. So I'm kind of obsessed with clear brollies now because of that. So then I went to the Abbey Studio, which is where the Beatles went. I walked across the same street they walked across in their iconic picture. I realized not just the Beatles went there, but the Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd, a lot of amazingly successful artists. I got to ride on a double-decker bus!
It's just like the ones on my skirt here. You know, this skirt has a theme of like red and white, but that's literally what the theme of London is.
I think red is like London's favorite color or something. Something I thought was interesting is begging is literally illegal on the Underground train. I went to the James Bond Museum and I saw all the cars that he used in the films. I also saw Mr. Bond, Agent 007. I went and got lunch at a place called Garfunkel's, and I got fish and chips because that's a classic British thing. So the type of fish in fish and chips is a codfish. And my brain was like, ding, close your mouth, Michael, we are not a codfish. It's Mary Poppins, codfish. It's like, made a connection. I ended the day at the National Gallery, which is a free art museum of some amazing art. I saw these two little old ladies. They were in front of a specific art piece and they were both like drawing it. I walked past two particular paintings and I looked back and forth between one and the other and I was like, this woman is the same woman. And it was. I changed my mind about art museums. I think I like them. On Wednesday, my energy had been somewhat exhausted. I thought to myself, you know what? I've been a lot of places all around the way. I've seen a lot of joy and I've seen a lot of pain. I think it's time to go pick up my Mac. So I called the Lost and Found and they said, yes, we have it. So I took a train out there and the train took me to a place that was about 2.5 miles away. And I thought to myself, you know, this is the true English countryside with tiny little towns and beautiful flowers everywhere. When else am I going to get an opportunity to just walk the English countryside? And so instead of taking a taxi like they recommended or like a bus, I walked. I walked the English countryside. I took so many pictures. And I got the full English experience by falling directly into some stinging nettles. Yeah, ouch. So I went there, retrieved my laptop, woo! And then I started to walk back, and it was a long way. And so I thought, you know what? I'm gonna go to the bus station, I'm gonna try to get a bus. I got there, and there were 3 guys there. They pointed at me and they said, airport? And I said, no, I'm just trying to get back to London. And they said, oh man, well, we need 4 people for a taxi. And I was like, oh, for real? And they said, yeah. And I was like, well, I had purchased a ticket earlier that week for a bus that went from the airport to London. And it was a return ticket, so it could keep going like as many times as I needed. And so I figured, oh, I'll just use that ticket. And so they were like, thank you so much, miss. And I was like, no problem. So I got in a taxi. I was in the driver's seat position, but there was no steering wheel because the steering wheel was on the opposite side of the car. So we drove to the airport and I took my bus ticket and I got on the same bus back to London. And this was the day when it was snowing and hailing and I was just excited about it because I was like, oh, it's just like in the movies in England. I went to the Waterloo Library so I could get some internet. Luckily nothing too significant had happened since I had last had my computer. I wanted to go to the temple on Wednesday, but I ended up not having time, so I just went to dinner. I found this Italian place, and the person working there was actually Italian. She had an accent and everything, and that's how you can usually tell a restaurant is good, if the person working there is authentically from where the food is from. I asked her what kind of pizza, and she said, actually, I like this one with the eggplant. And I was like, okay. So I got an eggplant slice and like a regular slice, and it was really good. Honestly, it's like the best restaurant pizza I've had for $6. On Thursday, I decided it was time to visit the temple. When else am I gonna get an opportunity to go to the London, England temple? So I dug around in my gigantic suitcase and I got a skirt and some makeup and I checked out of the hostel. I went over to the church building and I was able to print out my ticket for the bus I was gonna take later that night. Did you know you can take a bus from London to Paris? Yeah, I didn't know either. Anyways, I went to the temple. They let me leave my gigantic suitcase and backpack at the church building, so I was literally weightless as I went along. I was literally and figuratively weightless. Now, when I very first got to England, the whole underground buses, trains thing was very confusing. However, by the time that I had to go to the temple, I had it down. I just took the Circle line from Edgware Road to South Kensington, switched over to the Victoria Line, rode 2 stops to Victoria, hopped up to the Overground Road, the National Rail, all the way to Lingfield and the East Grinstead Line, passing through Croydon and Catertown, lovely little views there, and flagged a taxi to the London Temple. I could have jaunted the 2.5 miles, but I really didn't have the time, mate. Took a train to the temple. When I got there were 2 other ladies going to the temple, so I just caught the same taxi as them. It was honestly so beautiful. The church is true all over the world! Oh, I forgot, I was able to see Big Ben, but it was under construction. Big Ben, I realized, is where Peter Pan and Wendy flew to, along with George and Michael. I got back to London and I had dinner at Five Guys, and then I went to catch the bus to Paris. When I got there was a whole bunch of people in line, way more than would fit on one bus. People were confused as to which bus was their bus, and there was a poor guy there saying, "Look, this isn't my company, I don't know." There was a guy trying to go to Budapest and he was concerned because his ticket said London to Paris. But I just took his packet and I said, "Look," and I showed him London to Paris, Paris to Budapest. And he was like, "Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you." I was like, happy to help. So the bus took all night long, which is convenient because I didn't have to pay for an extra night at the hostel. So I was kind of drifting off on the bus, and all of a sudden they said, "Okay, get off, get off." And I was like, "We're in Paris already?" For some reason my mind thought that because there's a train that goes under the sea, because there's a train that goes under the sea, that somehow there was a street that goes under the sea, and that's what we were going on. But no, the bus drove onto a ferry. So I got to ride a ferry. It was in the middle of the night, but that's also something I've always wanted to do, to ride along the English Channel in a ferry. Dreams come true, yes they do. It was pretty sweet. And that was the conclusion of my time in London. Honestly, so amazing. 11 out of 10, I would go back. I want to go back and see Stonehenge and like other parts of England. Maybe see Scotland and Ireland too. I definitely want to go to Durham, England, because some of my ancestors are from there. I need to do more family history, because maybe I have more ancestors from over there. But yeah. Oh, and also I went to France again. I went to Paris. Yeah, so Paris, you see in movies like Ratatouille and other movies, it's like the romance city. The lights and the music and the food and the cheese. Everything is so wow in the movies. I don't want to say anything too negative because I know Paris is great and all, because otherwise why would so many people love it? But if you're me and you don't speak French and you've been traveling for a long time and you don't have any friends, Paris is not that great. Top of the Eiffel Tower was, you know, amazing view. I did get some good pictures. But I mean, it was crowded, it was cold, it was windy, everybody was speaking French. I was by myself, nobody loved me. Just kidding, people loved me, but they weren't anywhere near. I got robbed. But anyways, it would take a ton of convincing to get me to go back to Paris, because I just did not have a good time. Also, a taxi from Paris to the Paris airport was 100 euros. 100 euros! Taking a bus from London to Paris wasn't 100 euros, it was like 34. No, scratch that, it was like 30. Anyways, I got to the airport, I got my stuff checked in. Turns out my bag was like way overweight, but I had another backpack that was full that I just put in there, so I just took that backpack right out of there. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, got through security. And then I got on a plane for the longest 2 hours of my life. Literally, because going 2 hours took me 10 hours. Allow me to explain. I got on at 4 p.m. in Paris. I flew for 10 hours. I landed in Denver at 6 p.m.-ish. So it was only 2 hours, but for me it took 10 hours. But I made it home. And there's nothing more relieving, more relaxing, more joyful than getting home. If you're on a mission, if you're at college, if you're studying abroad, even if you just go on a trip for a brief amount of time like EFY, spring break, senior trip, when you get home it's like, and it's just like, I'm home! Yay! And yeah, now I'm at college up here in Rexburg, Idaho. Yeah, not as dreamy or exotic as England, but hey, still pretty awesome. I wouldn't want to study abroad in England for the same reason I wouldn't want to study art as my major, because if you study it too hard, it takes the fun out of it. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed all the reasons I love England. That's all for this video blog. I hope you all have a lovely day. And as I would say if I was in London, toodaloo, I love you!